Hi friends, I wanted to do an update video about the parasite. I've been doing a lot of research and I've learned some things. I'm also doing some things that have helped me feel better. Not a cure, but hopefully at some point. So I think I'm going to start with the correlation of what I've been studying. So someone sent me a link to a video on YouTube called American Nutrition Association Brownstein, May 2011. And it was actually my chiropractor sent me to that. And I watched it and I just knew when I saw the map that he showed in this video towards the end, I knew I was onto something. I have posted on my blog in the past about iodine, Lugol's iodine, and how it had helped me, but I stopped taking it because I was having some problems with my thyroid, and one of the causes of the specific issues with the TPO said that sometimes high iodine intake could cause it. Well, I think it was the gluten in my diet with the leaky gut from the parasites that was causing that. But the only time I would maintain my weight or have any energy was when I was taking the Lugol's years ago. And I would put it on at night and it'd be gone in the morning. And I blogged about that. And then I stopped. I tried to take it orally and my feelings got loose. I think I was taking it too concentrated and then I wasn't brushing my teeth afterwards. And so I stopped taking it and I regret that decision. My parasites have gotten a lot worse since that time. And I've struggled. So I watched this video and several of people have suggested taking high doses of the Lugol's to get rid of the parasites. And so I watched this video and I knew that this doctor was onto something in that video. And I will put a link on my blog and I will put pictures of all this on the blog and put all these pictures on my blog. Hopefully you will be able to see these as I show them. Okay, so in his video he talks about goiters, and in the 1918 draft for the First World War, they took the states with the worst goiters and iodine problems and put them in a map. Okay, so this is the map. That is the map that he shows on his video from 1918. Now look at the ones in black, okay? So we're talking the northwest corner of the U.S. and then it goes along the top, those with black lines. So you've got Nevada, Wyoming, Utah, and all of that. And then it comes over a little bit better right in the middle there. And then at the top, it's still bad. And then it drops down. So the ones with black lines are still bad, right? So then it comes across here, all right? And then up here, there's some black. And Maine is not done. But so all of those upper states, specifically the West, and then up and over, and then down over here. So you've got like Illinois and the Great Lakes states have low iodine in their soil, okay? So that is from 1918. They've lowered the iodine daily recommended allowance. And this guy talks in his video about how the iodine rate, the absorption rate is worse when you put it in iodized the salt. So they put iodine in the salt and they tested it with people eating bread with the iodine and salt with the iodine, and that it doesn't absorb as well with the salt. Then they lowered the recommended daily allowance, and thus we have low iodine, right, in our systems. When I moved to this small town I live in, I had never heard of anybody having their throat stretched or choking on their food. I've told you, I choke on my food. I'm tired all the time. Hormone issues. Gained 100 pounds. Have the parasite. And I've always said from the very beginning of this parasite, I think it has something to do with iodine, zinc, copper, iron in the soil. We have no iron in our soil. The Western U.S. is desert. It's not meant to have food grown in it, yet we grow food in it and we eat it. So I've always thought that those low minerals, micromineral sources were a cause for this parasite to have strength. So looking at the map, I'm like, I think there's something to this. So then this one is leukemia incident rates by state. Now, these are all older because they don't do them, they go back on back data and correlate it, okay? So this is leukemia states. This one's not as profound, but look, once again, we have the northern states, this central, western, and then it goes north, and it comes around, and it comes down. So look, it's over here, and it comes up, down, and it kind of goes through the center there. And then once again, when you get into those Great Lakes above region over here into Maine area, it's once again, that's leukemia rates. Now, I've talked about in the beginning with my parasites that my mother had leukemia, which when you get a parasitic infection, you get a high white count. And for 3 years, I was told I had a high white count, but nobody knew why. You get a high white count. This causes lung damage, right? So I've got lung damage and bumps in the back of the throat, whatever. So my mother had leukemia with the lung damage, didn't know why she had leukemia, didn't know why she had the lung damage. High white counts, lung damage, right? So look at all the states that are dark. So this is leukemia. So it's those similar states again, and then the ones that are the lighter blue are still high incidence, right? But that it goes down into Texas. Right? These are most states that have the lowest smoking incidences in the nation. So they're all religious and through that belt there. So you've got Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, Nevada. Let's see, not Nevada, Idaho. All of those are more religious states and have lower smoking incidences. So so just pay attention to this next slide, right? So this is leukemia rates. So you would think the healthy lifestyle, they don't drink coffee, they don't drink tea, they don't smoke, they don't drink alcohol. So with those incidences, you think they'd be healthier. They wouldn't be having leukemia. Okay, so then pay attention to, okay, this is a suicide one. So, well, this one is a suicide one, and it's from 2014, and they're all a little bit different. The most current one I could find was from 2014. So they're all a little bit different going from 2010 to 2014 because the incident rate of suicide has actually gone up in a lot of these states. So, once again, when you look at that, so we've got all of those states here that are higher. See, the orange and the darker red are high states. And then it kind of comes across here. It gets a little bitter there. Comes down through here. It's a little more. And then up in the Maine, it's more. Okay. So that's suicide rates per 100,000. Okay. Top suicide rates in this one is the same exact map, but it's got the suicide belt, western states. The top, well, 10 is it? The top 10 are highlighted and outlined in orange. So that's the same year, but the highest ones are in orange. So we've got here, up, and then they come up over here and up over here. So once again, it's the same kind of a map. Okay, this one's the lung one. Now, you got to think, so Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, all of... Okay, so Colorado has accidents, but I'm guessing respiratory is probably number 2. Then you go up and over, right? So you've got these states through here, then there's a little break, and then these states just below the Great Lakes, and then Maine up here. Okay, so those are all lung respiratory issues. And I'm guessing that a lot of those have the lower smoking. I should have looked for smoking data. I did not, but my guess is that those are lower smoking states, and I'm wondering why they're all having high incidences of lung problems. Thus, I get back to my mother. High white count, respiratory disease. She was on oxygen for years. My lung is damaged. I'll probably be on oxygen soon. I sound like I have emphysema. Well, I do. They were wondering COPD, and they don't know why. So, we get back to states with low iodine in the soil. Okay, these are goiters. These are states that have high goiters. Okay, We've got come down here. We've got Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, Nevada, and it's to the middle of the, right? So you got go in the middle here, and then you've got the western U.S. all the way across the top. It gets a little bit better in the middle there, but still there are some. So if you remember those maps, they go up and then they come down right around the Great Lakes. So they're all around the Great Lakes, and then we come up here and Maine has more. So it goes like it's right across the U.S., the northern half of the U.S. So it goes, but the worst goes up and around. So once again, we have all of those same states. Here's another one. Similar thing without the state lines. Interesting, right? So it goes across. This one's without the state lines, and so they don't, this one I kind of like because it doesn't go by state line. It goes by, they've got it looped without the states. So right across the middle here, all the way up north, those are the worst, especially with the black lines. So it goes here, then it goes up and it loops around. But you've also got this middle area, and then it drops down right here. So if you look at all of those maps, they all look identical, very similar. And I think if they broke it down and looked at the counties by soil, so these are states, but some of the state has iodine in it and some of it doesn't have iodine in it. Well, there you go, right there. So once again, iodine, no iodine in the soil. Maybe I don't salt my food, and I use real salt. So since I've been using that real salt, I'm not getting iodized salt at all. So my iodine source is gone zip. My kids use salt. They're still not the healthiest, but at least they haven't been showing a lot of the same symptoms I have as it severely. So I think people who use iodized salt, they cook with iodized salt, they eat iodized salt. I don't eat any bread. So any salt they would add to the bread. I don't eat any grains. So I get no iodized salt at all in my diet. So my choking of my food is actually a goiter. And I have met so many people. In fact, I saved a guy. He was, we were at a girls' camp a couple years back, and I hear crash, and this white foamy stuff's coming out of this guy's mouth. And he was one of the men that was helping do the meal for the day, and he choked on a piece of bread, got stuck in his throat, and and he was drinking milk trying to get it down, and he passed out. So we got the food out and got him okay, and he cut his head a little bit and sent him to the hospital. But he was telling me that he has chokes on his food often and has his throat stretched. I know several of my neighbors have gone and had their throat stretched. Seriously, I didn't even think about it being a goiter. I just assumed it was the parasites causing calcification and enlargement. But now I'm pretty sure it's goiter. It's no iodine. I literally get no baked goods, no salt. I use real salt and everything on my cooking. It's not iodized. So I really think there's a correlation to low iodine intake because we're not killing off the parasites because we don't have the iodine and the iron and the zinc and selenium. You need to absorb the iodine, you need iron and selenium and one other thing, zinc, I think, to be able to, anyway, I know selenium is on there because one of the supplements I've taken has selenium in it, and iodine and iron, because those are the things I've been saying for a long time I've been struggling with. So that information, we had a little girl in our town commit suicide. She shot herself this last week. This is breaking my heart that this could be cured. This could be solved. So I think when they start studying this parasite, they're going to realize it's just supplementation. And that's what I've said all along, is that I think it's an iodine, iron, zinc problem. Selenium is a micromineral. Chromium, diabetes, microminerals, all these minerals that are not in this desert soil in the West Coast, problematic. So the suicide rate map, the leukemia map, the lung illness, cause of death map, they're all parasite correlated to the parasites and iodine and everything that I've said from the beginning. So I want to share with you what I've been taking in the last week and a half. I have gotten more done than I have in months, and I have been taking large amounts of the iodine in a good way. I take the Lugol's, and I can't be sure. I can't remember. I think I can't remember what percentage this is. I think 2.2 is what you can get on the Crow's brand in the health food store. Our health food store has it. I've seen it there. I've bought it before and I've used it before. I've had this in the cupboard for years since I took Lugol's before, and this doesn't have a percentage on it. So I'm tell you how I'm taking it, but you can go get the 2.2, but look online. There's a lot of people who use this protocol and say that they take it. If you go on that link I'll share, the American Nutritional Association, Brownstein, May 2011, he talks about why you need to take Lugol's, and I've explained that on my blog. Lugol's is bound with potassium. It's called Lugol's because the doctor who created it and figured it out that you can absorb it only when it's bound by the potassium. So, but there are some pills that you can take also, and you can order it online. And anyway, so I've been taking that. Parasites, I don't think are liking it. So what I do is I put 1 drop, because I think it might be more concentrated. I put 1 drop in about twice as much water. I pour half and half because I'm worried about my fillings because they've oxidized when I used it before. So pour 1 drop into a half a glass of water, pour half of it into another one, and then I fill the glass all the way full of water. And then I drink 1 of these at night, and then I drink 1 mid-morning. And then I brush my teeth after I drink it just to make sure that it's not going to oxidize my fillings and make them loose. So then I also shared in the past that the rashes on my hands. Now, if I showed you my legs right now, you would see they are just, I don't know if you can see how dry that is. I think you can up here. Look, it's like sandpaper. And it's worse in here. And other people have written that their hands that's where their problems are. My legs are like snake skin, and they are just, literally, if I do this, it's just floating dead skin off of my legs. So what I've done is I use like a little bit of olive oil or something like that on my legs. I don't use lotion. I find it drying and it doesn't really absorb well. So I use a little bit of olive oil on my skin if I'm going out. I don't wear nylons or anything, so I just put a little bit of olive oil on my dry legs. But on my hands, I have decided lotion is not working. So I go to the dollar store and I just buy some antifungal foot cream. You can buy anti-yeast cream, any kind of antifungal cream. And I put some of this on my hand, and then I'll put 1 small, like as small a drop as I can get on top of that. And then I go like this, and then I rub it down on my elbows because I've got that dry rash elbows as well. And it's getting better. It's really, my hands have been softer than they've been in a long time. But, and also when I go to the bathroom and wash my hands, I'll just put a little bit more of the athlete's cream on it, and they've been super soft and better than they've been in a while. Also taking, I told you before about the pomegranate juice. My eyes still are yellow. I don't know if you can see. I just kind of look like, they just kind of look dark. But yeah, if you compare, see that white there, and you compare that there, it's really yellow. They're still really yellow. But I've been drinking, so when I wake up and about 4 times a day, I'll just take a couple, maybe an ounce or 2 of this, and then I always take a sip of this coconut water. Just so, you need a fat to absorb a lot of times whatever you're taking it with. So I'll just drink a couple. I can't drink a whole cup. I can't drink a lot of the coconut because I haven't been able to absorb the fats, and that is a problem. He talks about with iodine. If you don't have iodine, you can't absorb the fats, and so you get fatty liver and have a problem with clogged arteries because you don't have the iodine in your system. And so I do think that the iodine is helping my yellow eye. It doesn't maybe look like it right now, but I think it might be getting a little bit better. I mean, it took me years to get the yellow. I've had it for 3 or 4 years, so no, 2.5, 3 years. So I'm hoping that by continuing to take this stuff, it'll be better. So I'm still taking the natural iron, and I'm going to talk to the guy, and I'll give the information on my blog. I want to talk to him first about giving out his name and talk to him about that. But I like that, but I also do take unsulfured blackstrap molasses. I take maybe a half a teaspoon every other day, because this can be like a laxative, so I don't want to take it too often, but I do feel a lot better. I have had more energy. Then John, one of my viewers, wrote about, I was saying about my yellow eyes, and he said, are you taking L-acetylcysteine? And I said, I've never heard of that. And it's one of the amino acids. Now, I've taken L-tyrosine, L-lysine, L-arginine before, and I've taken L-tyrosine quite a few times in my life, because I know it helps assimilate some of the other vitamins I was taking it with. But this specific one, now I've taken glutathione. I have the MTHFR factor, which is a genetic defect. I'm sure most people in my area have it, just because of their genetics, where they came from most of the people who settled this specific area came from the Scandinavian countries. So I think that we all probably have this genetic defect. You can have one gene defective or two. I have one gene defective, which means I have a hard time getting rid of the toxins out of my system. Now, the MTHR, it's a really long name, but anyway, look up MTHFR test, and it will tell you whether you have this gene or not, and it can cause infertility and all sorts of health problems. And I was lucky not to have that infertility problem, but I have a problem not being able to get rid of the toxins out of my system. And so I get toxic and start swelling up pretty easily. So I do oil swishing, which I talk about on my blog, so check that out. And I also just back off of taking things for a couple days till I can get it out of my system. So I can tell pretty easily if I'm toxic, but I just don't seem to assimilate anything. If I could take I've taken thyroid medication for years, but I couldn't assimilate it. Well, that makes sense, because if you don't have iodine, you can't utilize the thyroid hormones. So I think now that I've started to take the iodine, I've started to have menopause symptoms again, which isn't a good thing necessarily for me, but it shows that my body is now assimilating the thyroid that my body is making. I'm now able to utilize it. And I haven't been taking external thyroid. I tried a couple of weeks ago and it just made me toxic, and I knew I wasn't absorbing it. But when they test my specific thyroid levels, they seem to be there and fine. I just wasn't able to utilize them. So now that I'm taking the iodine, I think I'm able to utilize my own thyroid hormones that I'm producing. So what this N-acetylcysteine, L-acetylcysteine does, now there's two different things. The cysteine is spelled differently in one of them versus the other. One is the amino acid, and one is the broken down form. So the NAC is the broken down form. It's a more usable form. It's a precursor for glutathione, which helps you get rid of your toxins, which I've never been able to do. So I read a study. He suggested that I take the acetylcysteine, and I was reading about it, and they gave high doses IV to people who had liver toxicity, specifically from Tylenol and clove oil. So I realized from watching that video about the iodine that I probably had fatty liver. And so I thought, well, maybe taking the iodine will help me get rid of that. So I started taking some high doses of the NAC. There's two different brands. This one, however, has the molybdenum and the selenium in it, which you need to absorb the N-acetylcysteine. So the other, then you could buy just L-acetylcysteine, but this is N-acetylcysteine. So I think both would help, but just beware if you're going to buy it without these other things. You need the selenium and the molybdenum. And specifically in the books I read, it talks about you need the selenium. So I went ahead and bought the Now brand and the other brand, and I was taking half of these and half of those so that I was getting the selenium. And I think that the selenium, along with the iodine, Well, along with being able to utilize the glutathione and the thyroid hormone is helping me feel better. Now, in the last 2 weeks, I dug out 4 fence posts, put in new fencing, 4x4s, and put my fence back up. It blew over in the wind. I was able to get my garage facing big boards put back in, textured, sanded, primed, and painted. I was able to dig up sprinkling systems that needed to be. Now, other than the fence posts, these things have been needing to be done in my yard since the end of last July. So the sprinkler being dug up and fixed, that was all summer. Last summer it needed to be dug up, and it wasn't a huge project. I just did not have the energy to do it. The fence, the garage door needed to be done since June, July last year. It's been not done since that time. And now, granted, I was super busy with helping family and getting daughter off to college and surgeries and things like that, but the fact that in a week or week and a half, I've been able to get those things done, as well as I've been working on my garage and sorting through things and putting things away. And I got my carpet scrubbed a couple weeks back. These are things that I've been on my to-do list for a very long time. And the fact that I've had energy. Now, I'm not ready to run a marathon, but I actually have contacted some people and wanted to go do some things, walking or whatever. So, I still get winded pretty easily. I'm still got lung damage, but the energy level has been higher. So when I take the N-acetylcysteine, the NAC, it already has the selenium in it, but make sure if you don't, that you take it with that and research what you need to take it with. But vitamin C usually helps you absorb whatever you take it with, and it's also a good antioxidant. Will help you get rid of the toxins that are in the system. So I take it with a couple of those, and then I've been taking one St. John's wort with it. I bought this for somebody in the family with some other vitamins that they were having some problems. And so, but I decided to take, because when you take St. John's wort, it helps you absorb whatever you take it with, like 1,000% or something crazy high like that. So I've been taking one of those, 2 of these, and a handful of this and the other brand of the NAC a couple times a day. And I don't want you to take and do everything that I do. I want you to research. I'm not sharing this because I'm giving anybody a cure or a treatment plan. This is what I've been doing, and this is, I feel better. But it doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. It doesn't mean it's for everybody. But I just wanted you to know that that is what I've been doing. So with that, the iodine, taking the drinking it internally and putting it on my hands. Now, I put it on every night, every other night, depending on what's going on. And I never have any signs of yellow left on my skin. If you have you put it on at night and it's there in the morning, you're not absorbing it. So you're just wasting the iodine. But I've never, in the years I was using it before, have I ever woken up and had it show in the morning. I mean, I've gotten up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and I'll see some yellow or whatever, but I used to just rub it on my abdomen. But I like the cream. It's kind of, when I put it with this fungal cream, it just kind of makes it spread evenly, and I think it just kind of holds it there, and it seems to absorb pretty well. So that's normally the test. You put it on at night and you see if it absorbs. So I have been absorbing it as much as I can, apparently. I've been using it quite a bit, but like I said, I've had more energy and I feel better than I have in a long time. So hopefully my fatty liver will go away. I've been able to eat more, like cheese or something like that that's more fatty that I wouldn't normally be able to eat, or nuts. I've been able to eat more nuts than I was able to eat. So I think the NAC has been cleaning out my liver, and I think the iodine has been helping clean out the fats out of my system. And so I feel like I am getting better. This is the first hope I've had in a long time. So I feel better that I've been able to get things done. Now, it's been rainy today, and it's been kind of rainy on and off yesterday. And I do feel sinus pressure, which I get when it rains, but I've also been going to the chiropractor weekly for the last month or so. So I do think it's a combination of all of those things. My back is still out. You can see I've been kind of shrugging through the whole video. My back hurts, but I do really feel like it's the iodine and these things, because it's internally. It's not like just my back, you know, because back's still been out and it's been sore, but I think it's a combination of just trying all these things at the same time. I think I've tried them all individually other times, but I think it's a combination of all of these together. So that's wonderful. So with that, the parasites, I'm going to get to this update with the parasites. I think I have them irritated. I have the rashes, and I have been using a lot of the iodine. And I think the other night they were the pelvic floor. I can feel one in the pelvic floor all the time. And so I actually put some of this cream with iodine on it down in that area. And I pushed it out into my leg muscle. So it's in the upper thigh muscle. And it has been in there for 4 or 5 days. I think the large amounts of the iodine that I've been taking have it annoyed. So, but also not only that one, there's been about 3 that have moved out from where they normally reside. So I've got, they've kind of gone to I still have one kind of in the heart area. And I have them in the gut, but maybe I'll just start rubbing a little bit of iodine on the gut area and see if I can get them out of there. But then they just run to a different area, but any which way. But I think putting it on that pelvic floor, the hairline down there, drove it out. And so lately I've been having these almost like growing pains in my muscles. It's super painful, and I talk about it when I'm talking about taking Pyrantel or Pinax, how they burrowed into the large muscles and caused muscle spasms and stuff. This specific one has been really burrowing through the muscle, running down along the bone, and it's been really painful. But I've also had one in each foot that's been doing it. And I know that I have them in my feet because I wake up in the morning and my legs are swollen and they're kind of tingling. But they've kind of gone where I've been putting the oils on my legs, and they don't like the oils on the skin because they can't breathe or get out. I don't know, it's kind of slimy. They live in just underneath the skin and in the lymphatic area, so I don't think they've been liking that. So by putting the oils on my legs, I think I've driven them into my feet, because I typically don't put the oil on my feet as often. So the pains that I've been having are more continually in the muscles. So I think something I've been doing is annoying them in the organs and the blood in the normal areas where they would be, and sending them into the muscle. And in a way, that's a good thing. I want them to be uncomfortable in my body. I want them out. So I just wanted to share that update. Don't go out and put iodine all over your body. I don't want anybody to have any reactions. I'm not treating. I'm just telling you what I've been trying. And then I could get on here next week and say, oh, that failed. So I'm just giving it as information. If anybody ever does research and something happens to me, at least the information's out there. But I really showing you those pictures at the beginning, the lung issues, the leukemia issues, the iodine issues, the suicide issues, they are all that same area on the U.S. They just along the top of the northern half of the U.S. So I'm hoping that somebody will pay attention, because these kids killing themselves it's just so sad. It's a small town. Everybody knows everybody. And it just makes me so sad that people for a senior in high school to take a gun, especially a female, that's usually a male way to commit suicide. And for a girl to do that, it just shows the desperation that's going on in their lives. And I know this parasite does that. That's one thing I didn't bring up. Thank you for watching to the end. I tried to find a map that shows the correlation between farmers committing suicide, a map showing the farmers' suicide rate. I couldn't break it down and find it specifically by state, but the CDC did a report, and it was in Newsweek, that farmers are committing suicide 48% higher than other occupation workers. And secondly, okay, so farmers are here, they're committing suicide here. Fishermen, national park workers, outdoor workers, and construction, they all work with dirt. Highest suicide rate. Sad, but true. Farmers, construction workers, natural park workers, outdoor workers, and fishermen all dig in the mud for worms, the fishermen, and parasite. So the CDC is aware that there's a problem in across the board. France, all of Europe, India, all the cotton farmers. There's like somebody killing themselves every 8 minutes in India, a cotton farmer. And they said it's isolation, and it's hard because the economy goes up and down. Well, the economy's been going up and down forever, and the suicide rate in farmers hasn't been that high. This is crazy. It's this parasite. I think from what I can see is they took this parasite knowing it killed the crickets that were eating the farm produce, took this Nematomorpha worm, genetically modified it, sprayed it on the plants. The bugs ate it. It killed the bugs, but it also transferred into our food because they're spraying it on the food. We ate it. It's since they genetically modified it. In 2008 or to 2014, I think was the highest suicide rates. And I think enough of them killed themselves off in India that it kind of went back down, but the rate is still super high. And I show you on a Q-tip the worm on the Q-tip that I thought came out of my ear, but it could have come off of a cotton ball, because if they sprayed it on the cotton, that was where it started in India, the cotton. It could be that the seeds are still in the cotton if they didn't boil it or bleach it or whatever. So they just, these natural cotton products, and we're sticking them in our ears, and then they just wake up and come out. Cotton balls and Q-tips, we're just giving them a great place to hatch. So I don't stick cotton tips, Q-tips in my ear anymore. I put paper towel over it and then use them, just for that reason, because I don't know if that one I saw on the show on my video was actually out of my ear, or if it was on the Q-tip and I just left it in my ear long enough that it was coming out. So you could do it. I hadn't really thought this. You could just dip a Q-tip in hydrogen peroxide and see if anything happens. If something starts moving, you know that they're in the Q-tip. But some people wrote me and said that these parasites are in cotton products that are unbleached and unprocessed. So I think that this parasite is coming through the cotton and also any crops that were sprayed with it. And they did a study when I was researching this week, that certain pesticides, there was a higher increase of suicide rate after certain pesticides were used. And I believe that this is one of the pesticides where they actually had these parasites in. That was the purpose. They put the parasites in the pesticide. So high suicide rate amongst the farmers. Specifically, when I tried to look at it by state, I think Wyoming has the highest suicide rate in the nation, but there were 3 states or 4 states that were specifically mentioned, and I didn't bring that pad out here with me. I had them written down, but you can research that if you're interested. But high suicide rate in farmers, outdoor workers, fishermen, the high lung disease for that same area, the goiter problem for that same area, the high suicide rate, and the one other, but they all of those maps and all of that information all correlate the same areas. So iodine, they've even, when you watch that video, I'll link you to, talk about how it's infertility and how low, when you have a baby that has low iodine, their IQ is testable lower, and you get kids that aren't as smart because there's no iodine. So you think about these people who can't get pregnant and they finally get pregnant. If they don't have iodine to give the baby's going to have more health problems. So that was an interesting aside in that video too. I highly, highly recommend you watch it. American Nutrition Association, Brownstein, May 2011. I have no correlation to these people. I'm not promoting it because I'm getting anything out of this. Nobody's paying me to say this. I got this information. My chiropractor sent me a link after he saw my eyes. I hadn't seen him for a couple of years, and I went back about a month and a half ago for the first time, and he sent me that article, and that since then I've been taking the stuff and feeling a lot better. Not 100%, but better. And I've been sleeping less too, because I told you I had to get like 10 to 12 hours to feel good. I went to bed at 10:30 last night, couldn't sleep for a couple hours, got up, went back to sleep, and woke up at 5:30 this morning. Night before last, I went to bed and woke up probably 3 or 4 hours earlier than I normally would. So I'm seeing myself needing less sleep and getting more done. Yesterday I got a ton done in the yard and on less sleep. So anyway, long video again, but I think all the information is really worth it. Hopefully somebody will start looking at these correlations in these things. I will put all of those little videos I showed, or pictures, I'll put them all on my blog and link them all together, and I'll put the information about the farmers and which states have the worst suicide rates out. But I want you to know it's also Europe. The CDC's report includes Europe and India, and basically worldwide, all of the farmers are committing suicide at a high rate. So share it with your friends if you think they might have this parasite or they might have iodine deficiency or the goiters. I still am choking on my food. It hasn't gone down, but seriously, if it took me 10 years, well, eight years or so to gain this weight and get the goiter and have the problems and the parasite, it's not going to go away with 2 weeks of iodine and mineral supplementation. So, but I really feel like it's been helpful and I feel good. So check out my blog, thesecretisgratitude.com. I will post all of that information in my blog. And hopefully we can get somebody to pay attention. I think those maps are pretty indicative of what's going on. So I'm glad I was able to correlate them and put them together. Hopefully somebody will pay attention. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a blessed day.